It's a place where the worst of the worst offenders in Indiana are sent to die. The Chamber, the death house at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City.
WSBT's Diane Daniels was allowed beyond the prison walls for a behind-the-scenes look at this place, and she joins us now with more. Diane?
Well, Cindy and Deborah, it is a place that few people ever see, but our cameras were granted rare access to this place where when the appeals run out, the death row inmates' time has run out as well.
Time passes on a beautiful blue sky November day. Inmates at the Michigan City Prison file down what's known as Main Street. They're going to and from their mealtime, and on the way, they pass by an 80-year-old brick building. It's known as the DO, or District Office. That's the official name. But what it's really known as here is the death house, the Chamber. This is the place where prisoners sentenced for the worst of crimes go to die by lethal injection. The gurney stands idle, thick leather straps and cuffs in position, ready to be used to bind the next death row inmate who runs out of appeals, who runs out of time.
I feel that this is a place that we should hold in some degree of honor. Regardless of anybody's position on executions, it's where we put men to death.
Prison Superintendent William Wilson sat down to talk with candor about his role as the man now in charge of putting prisoners to death. It's not a path that he started on decades ago when he began his career as a funeral director. Then he was just moonlighting in corrections. But his background in mortuary science gives him a unique perspective on dealing with death, a responsibility that he now has.
The rare opportunity to see the death chamber here at the Indiana State Prison is in part because this is considered sacred space.
And when I say sacred, I don't necessarily mean a holy place, but it is a place where we as other human beings are asked to carry out this execution of another human being.
This is as close as anyone typically ever gets to the death chamber. It's the witness viewing room where the blinds open for only a matter of moments on a window to a world that exposes them to the doomed prisoner's final moments and final breath.
One of my first executions that I was a member of, the offender actually took the time to apologize to us team members for having to do this. So I thought that was a very profound moment.
As the clock in the death chamber ticks down to that midnight hour when most executions are scheduled to take place, phones near the gurney provide constant contact in case word comes of a stay.
When you hang up that phone and you nod your head, the process starts. That's the beginning of an end of a person's life. It's a tremendous responsibility.
Mark Levenhagen was superintendent here when the most recent execution occurred. It was in December of last year when Matthew Wrinkles was put to death.
Thou shalt not kill is one of those commandments, and yet I accepted the responsibility and moved through that process.
Levenhagen's first role in any execution came in 2005, the Alan Matheny case. The St. Joe County man executed for bludgeoning his wife to death in Mishawaka in front of the couple's children while he was out on a prison furlough.
I have about a 23 or 24 mile drive to my home, and I remember that first one I did. I got home and don't remember driving home. It's one of those things that absolutely no one can prepare you for.
In the lengthy stretches of time when this room is not in use, a team of 25 to 30 Department of Corrections workers from all across the state gather here regularly to practice. They are the execution team.
We don't want to make any mistakes, so when we do a practice, it's as live as we can make it.
The establishment of the IV is the most critical element during those practices. The IV tubing runs from the gurney through a wall separating inmate and executioner.
There are no medical staff that are involved with the actual execution process because it does go against their oath of do not harm.
From the guards who bring the prisoner to the watch cell adjacent to the gurney just hours before the death sentence is carried out, to the superintendent in charge, a highly selective process goes into choosing that execution team.
We don't want anybody on our team who is going to be a cowboy type of a notch in my belt, look what I did. We don't want those kind of people.
More than 60 men have died here in this room, 14 by lethal injection and the rest by electrocution. In fact, the wiring, switch box, and levers for the electric chair are all still intact here.
So the chair is definitely part of the history of this place, and it's by no means defunct. I mean, if we had to use it tomorrow, we could take it out of that case and take it down to the chamber and hook it up.
The chair is now on display as an artifact in a prison conference room. It was built almost 100 years ago with wood from the state prison gallows. The last time it was used actually was fairly recently, back in 1994. After that, the state legislature mandated the move to lethal injection. Currently, 14 men sit on Indiana's death row doing time.
Generally, as a final act of brotherhood, they will refuse their meal on the day of an execution.
Currently, no executions are scheduled, but Superintendent Wilson knows that could change at any moment.
Nervous? No. Again, will it be another one of those moments when you reflect maybe how you got here? Yes.
And as time runs out on death row offenders, the debate, of course, over the death penalty continues. Today, though, there are fewer offenders on death row at the state prison than there used to be, and that is likely due, at least in part, to a law change in Indiana several years ago that allowed the sentencing option of life without parole.
Diane, what was it like for you to be in that room, in that death chamber?
You know what? I will be honest, I was a little apprehensive about it. When I got in there, it was eerie. It was a little surreal. It was clinical. It was old. For a place where time is of the essence, it's like time has stood still, other than the fact that the mode of execution has changed over the years from electrocution to lethal injection. And it was certainly sobering to think about all of the lives that have been lost in that place.
In that place. The death house.
Yeah.
The death house, the chamber, officially known as the district office, but certainly they know it by another name in Michigan City.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Diane, thank you very much. That was real